Exclusively with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ahead of his pivotal meeting tomorrow at the White House with President Trump. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, thank you for joining the Sunday briefing. I want to start by asking you if you've seen this 21-point peace plan and if you plan to declare support for it at the White House tomorrow.
Well, we're working on it, Jackie. It's not been finalized yet, but we're working with President Trump's team, actually as we speak. And I hope we can make it a go because we want to free our hostages. We want to get rid of Hamas rule and have them disarmed, Gaza demilitarized, and a new future set up for Gazans and Israelis alike, and for the whole region.
According to some reports, if Israel and Hamas agree to this plan, the war would immediately end. The IDF will gradually withdraw from the Gaza Strip. All hostages will be returned within 48 hours. And then after that, Israel would free 1,000 Palestinian prisoners and aid will surge immediately. But Hamas members who choose to stay would get amnesty. And in your speech to the UN, you didn't indicate that amnesty is in the cards. Listen to this.
The final remnants of Hamas are holed up in Gaza City. They vow to repeat the atrocities of October 7th again and again and again, no matter how diminished their forces. That is why Israel must finish the job.
Will you agree to amnesty for Hamas?
Well, I think the details of this have to be worked out. But in previous statements, I said that if Hamas leaders, for example, are escorted out of the country, if they finish the war, release all the hostages, we let them out. That is something that I've said in the past, but it has to be worked out. All of that, I think, is part of the plan. I'm not going to preempt it because we're having these discussions exactly right now.
How many Hamas fighters do you estimate are left? Is it more than before the war started?
No, it's considerably less. But as we decimated them, what they did was they stole the food that we were giving to Gazan civilians, hiked up the prices, and then used it to fund the recruiting of replacements. And the replacements could be 14, 15-year-olds. That's what they're doing. I mean, they're actually blackmailing Palestinian families to give them their kids in order to fill the ranks that have been decimated by us. But no, it's not the same number at all. And by the way, you have Gazans now fighting Hamas and say, we've had enough of this. We have to have something else. And they're fighting Hamas. They're killing Hamas. Some of them are dying in the process because they've had enough. And I fully understand them.
Some of the reported plan also touches your red lines. In the beginning, a temporary group of Palestinian technocrats supervised by the U.S. would administer Gaza's services and fund its redevelopment until the Palestinian Authority has completed its reform program. But just days ago, you indicated you would not accept any future role for the Palestinian Authority. I want to play what you said at the UN.
I hear from the Western leaders. They tell me, the PA promised us it will reform. Yeah, right. Giving the Palestinians a state 1 mile from Jerusalem after October 7th is like giving Al-Qaeda a state 1 mile from New York City after September 11th. This is sheer madness. It's insane, and we won't do it.
Fine for you?
Yeah, I haven't changed my positions, and I think that the credibility or the likelihood of the things, a reformed Palestinian Authority that changes completely its stripes, that accepts a Jewish state, that teaches its children to embrace coexistence and friendship with the Jewish state rather than living their lives in order to annihilate it and perhaps committing suicide bombs. Strapping suicide bombs in order to get it, and all these other things. Pay for slay. They pay terrorists to murder Jews, and the more Jews they murder, the more they pay. If all of that is turned on its head, there's a tremendous transformation. Well, good luck. Some people will believe it happens. I don't think it's going to happen.
I want to ask also about the point of the plan that calls for Israel not to carry out any future strikes in Qatar. The strikes caused some deep frustration at the White House and with Arab states in the region. None of the Hamas leaders that were targeted were actually killed. Do you still believe that those strikes in Qatar were worth it?
Look, I think that the United States and any self-respecting country doesn't give a pass to terrorists. And of course, we weren't attacking Qatar any more than you were attacking Pakistan. When you took out bin Laden, you went after bin Laden, not Pakistan. But these things, again, will be worked out because our goal was that. Our goal was Hamas, not anything beyond it. I think we can work out an understanding on this. In any case, I don't think it's, I think it's common sense. Everybody understands that. But even those who protest against it.
There are some indications, though, that it has jeopardized one of President Trump's legacy achievements, the Abraham Accords. You had the UAE, which normalized relations with your country under President Trump's first term, calling the strikes a grave breach of international law and the UN Charter, an irresponsible escalation that threatens regional and international peace and security. Are you saying that eradicating Hamas is more important than the Abraham Accords?
No, I think the Abraham Accords brokered by President Trump with me and the leader of the UAE, I think they've been remarkably resilient and strong. We've been now through 2 years of war, and they've held up very well. We've got commerce going both ways. We've got Israelis just going back and forth to the Gulf states. We have cooperation between our two countries. It's very strong. And I think that the defeat of the Iran terror axis and the defeat of Hamas and the ending of the hostage situation in Gaza will improve it even further. I think there are many possibilities for peace, which I'm discussing with President Trump and his team, and we plan to seize them. I think you'll see that not only are the Abraham Accords not endangered, they'll be expanded to other countries.
Did Israel provide any warning to the U.S. about these strikes?
Well, I said it was a wholly independent Israeli operation. You know, we initiated it and we conducted it, and that hasn't changed. It's a simple truth.
If you felt that it was going to ultimately help your position to bring the war to an end, why not coordinate with the U.S.?
Why do my joints hurt more when I gain weight? The answer shocked even my doctor.
It was a wholly independent operation initiated by us and conducted by us, and us alone.
How is your relationship with President Trump now?
It's actually unparalleled in the history of our two nations. It doesn't mean we agree on everything, but we agree on the substantive things and the main things. President Trump has been an incredible ally of Israel, incredible friend. We've had no one like him. What he did in his first term in recognizing Jerusalem as our capital, moving the American embassy there, recognizing our sovereignty over the Golan Heights, getting out of the disastrous Iran deal, and then, of course, now joining us in the effort to prevent Iran from getting nuclear weapons by taking out some of these nuclear sites with us. I think it's great. I read somewhere this ridiculous, this ridiculous lie. President Trump does what he does because he decides what's in America's best interest. And I've said this often, I don't decide a thing for President Trump. He is the most independent leader, an amazing leader that I've seen in all my years, and I think many people in the world see that. So the idea that in any ways that I boast that I control him, that's ridiculous. It's a lie. And not only did I not say it, I don't think it. I think America is blessed with a very strong and independent leader, and I'm very happy that he has seen the importance of protecting the free world and its allies against this Iran terror axis that seeks to build ballistic missiles, intercontinental ballistic missiles with nuclear warheads that could reach the United States, could reach Europe, and certainly are directed against my country as well. We work together on that, and I think we made a historic change in the Middle East, which will produce historic peace treaties.
I want to ask about the Iran missiles and their nuclear program as well. But going back just a moment to what you said, President Trump called on Israel to not strike Qatar again. This point 18 of the plan calls for Israel to pledge not to strike Qatar again. Is that something that you will pledge today not to do? Because your ambassador to the U.S. said after the strikes, if we didn't get the Hamas leaders this time, we'll get them next time. That indicated you might want to do it again.
Jackie, I'm going to talk about that with President Trump. I'd rather have that done there rather than done here. And, you know, Fox News is very important, but leave that. Sometimes diplomacy should precede public expressions.
Okay. Going back to your UN speech about Iran, you said this.
We must not allow Iran to rebuild its military nuclear capacities. Iran's stockpiles of enriched uranium, these stockpiles must be eliminated.
So are you saying the enriched uranium was destroyed during the 12-day war or by those strikes from B-2 bombers?
Sure. No, we knew that in advance. In fact, our whole plan before and after the United States decided to join us took into account that we wouldn't get these 450 kilograms of enriched uranium. We knew that. What we were targeting is the capacity to make more of those, of that enriched uranium, and also the attempt to weaponize it. There's the enriched core of uranium, but you have to put a weapon around it. These balls that you see in all these movies, that's the weapon around it, and then you have the missiles to carry that weapon. That's what we struck at, and we struck hard. So,
are you saying that the
including taking out in the
450 kilograms, you said, is that what remains? And is that, or kilos, excuse me, that's what remains. Yes. Do you know where it is? And do you have plans to take it out?
Well, we certainly know where it is. We have a pretty good idea where it is. And we share that, the U.S. and we share that information with each other. But, of course, and it's a very good relationship in that sense, too. But, look, I think we have to apply all the pressures to prevent Iran from resuming that program. And they're going to try. And I think what happened, I called it the UN. What happened at the UN after I called for the renewal of the sanctions against Iran? It's called the snapback sanctions. They were actually snapped back in the last 24 hours. And that actually is a good thing that happened. Not many good things happen in the UN. And as far as Israel is concerned, every day brings more and more vilifications, lies, and bad things. But this was a good thing, and I'm glad we have it. So, yeah, we have to keep up the diplomatic and economic pressure on Iran to make it making it clear that we will not tolerate a resumption of their efforts to build nuclear bombs to destroy my country and yours.
Going back to what you said at the UN, you did push back on claims that Israel has had a starvation policy in Gaza. But for 2 months this year, all aid into Gaza was blocked. You control the borders. You've seen the images. Do you take any responsibility for the humanitarian situation there?
The person
should be laid to at the feet of Hamas. Why did we have the problem of feeding the Gazans? Because, as I said, the Hamas looted at gunpoint, killed the drivers, took over these trucks, and took the food for itself, took the main chunk for itself, and left the crumbs at exorbitant prices for the Palestinian people. So that created deprivation. What we tried to do is to build distribution points that would go around this Hamas robbery, these Hamas thieves. And we put these distribution points along the Gaza Strip. It was manned by Americans, actually, by American companies, and said, here, try to provide the food that way, not in order to deprive the Palestinians, but to get food to the Palestinians, as we've been doing since the beginning of the war and before the looting came in. That, unfortunately, didn't work. That's why you had the deprivation, because Hamas attacked those distribution points, too. So we didn't get it from the trucks, because we didn't want them looted. We wanted to get it through the distribution points, American manned distribution points. They shot there too. I mean, so they created this whole deprivation, and of course laid it at Israel's doorstep, and the international media bought it hook, line, and sinker. I mean, it's just ridiculous. The whole thing is absurd.
Final questions.
We pushed, Jackie, just a point. We pushed 2 million tons of aid into Gaza from the beginning of the war. That's 1 ton of aid per person, man, woman, child, per day. And that is amazing. That's actually 3,000 calories per person per day, and that's less. It's not starvation; it's the opposite of starvation. So the simple answer is there was never a starvation policy, and there never will be a starvation policy.
no starvation policy, but you're not denying that there is starvation in Gaza, correct?
No, I am saying actually there was no starvation, there was deprivation.
Okay.
That's true. You know the first thing we do when we take prisoners, because you know we're in a battle, we take prisoners, thousands of them, Palestinian prisoners. We want to sift out, you know, who's the terrorist, who's not. And what's the first thing you do when you take a Palestinian prisoner? They might be wearing a suicide vest and they could explode you, right? So what you do is you ask them, take your shirt off. Now we've got thousands and thousands of photographs throughout the war, including in the recent times, okay? You won't see a single emaciated person there. A single emaciated person there.
What
okay?
is your estimate,
but of
sir,
course,
of the death toll between combatants and civilians? Because I understand that we have numbers from the Hamas-run Ministry of Health, but what is Israel's estimate?
our estimate at most is it's considerably less than 2 to 1, which is actually almost a historic low in urban warfare.
And sir,
that's about it. It's been bigger. It's been bigger in Fallujah and Afghanistan and elsewhere, much bigger. So we're taking a lot of care not to hurt civilians.
Thank you, sir. And finally, because we're almost out of time, do you still believe that 20 hostages are still alive?
Yes, I do. I do. And we're committed to get them out, every last one of them, including the deceased hostages. I think it's outrageous that they're holding these people. They've held grandmothers and their grandchildren hostage. Who does that? I mean, these are monsters, and they have to. Every nation now in the world has to say one thing to Hamas. You know, release the hostages, all of them, and lay down your arms. And if you do that, the war can come to an end immediately, right now.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, we are grateful for your time and look forward to